Gaming Legends presents a turbocharged extravaganza by Dr. Rank. Brace yourself for Crash Nitro Kart without the gas pedal. Our goal is to complete the adventure mode without ever pressing the gas button during gameplay. The run is complete when we win the final boss battle against Emperor Velo. Unlike the CTR run, we get to choose between two teams of 3 characters, and can swap between them at any time. I personally went with Team Bandicoot because I've chosen the villains twice in a row in previous runs, and
maybe I don't want to be the bad guy anymore.
We'd better not keep His Majesty waiting. Let's get this run started, shall we? The main mechanic that makes this run possible is drift boosting. Hold the L1 or R1 buttons while turning to start a drift, then press the opposite button when the meter is in the red zone to do a drift boost. You can do up to 3 boosts per drift, and the more boosts you do in a row, the more reserves you build up, and the longer the effect of boost pads will last. However, while drifting doesn't require the gas button specifically, it does require that you're moving forwards at a decent speed. We can reverse with either the brake button or down on the D-pad, which is enough to traverse the hub world, but it does neither of these things. The simplest way to get yourself moving is to reverse onto a boost pad. This will give you enough speed to start drifting and thus actually start racing. You can alternatively use a turbo item from an item box, which is especially useful if you get a triple item box. Feel free to hang on to a turbo as a backup plan in case you take damage and come to a stop. Speaking of, getting hit isn't the same death sentence that it is in CTR. As long as you don't fully wipe out from a missile or TNT, you can usually still get a drift boost in and recover with fast reaction time. But hang on a minute, why are you using Coco in that footage? When Game Champ 3000 and Mordwile did this challenge in Crash Team Racing Nitro-Fueled, they both chose speed characters for their high speed stats. Shouldn't Crunch and Tiny be the best options for this run? That's pretty sound logic, Cedric, but it has one critical flaw. Despite all evidence to the contrary, CNK is not CTR. Thanks to the colorblind programmer at Vicarious Visions, all characters drive at the same speed when using boost pads. The only tangible difference between Coco and Crunch is that Coco can actually turn, making her the superior character. This is especially apparent in Inferno Island. The nearest boost pad to the starting line is all the way in the cave on a ramp off to the side. With Coco's high turning stat, we can get a tight enough turn to maintain the boost speed in the proper direction. Unfortunately, getting to that boost pad in the first place takes a full 20 seconds, by which point everyone else is halfway through lap 1. Despite my best efforts, I wasn't able to catch up to the AI on this track. But I've got good news. Failure is not only a valid strategy, it's accounted for. In CNK, all trophy races are set as team races, with an AI-controlled teammate that fills your frenzy meter while you're near them. As long as any member of Team Bandicoot finishes in first, the game will still give you the trophy. Additionally, the Bandicoots are immune to each other's items, so staying in 8th and spamming entropy clocks will give them a massive lead. That being said, I did still try to actually win every race where possible. Jungle Boogie has a boost pad right behind the starting line, along with an easily accessible shortcut that the AI tends to ignore. Plus, if you manage to completely fill your frenzy meter, you can activate frenzy mode at any time for an infinite supply of items, including turbos. It only took me a handful of attempts to win this one and bank my second trophy. Tiny Temple doesn't have any boost pads near the start, and driving backwards is a dead end. Thankfully, boost pads aren't the only way to drive forwards. If you face downhill on a steep slope, you can jump repeatedly to get some forward momentum, eventually enough to start drifting. Just be careful with the anti-gravity section. If you wiped out immediately prior, the only way to get out is with a boost pad that covers the entire width of the track. You can still reverse into a wall at an angle, then quickly point yourself forwards when you start boosting, but it is not easy. With a bit of help from the clocks, I was eventually able to finish in second, with Crunch in first. Unfortunately, teamwork is not an option for the Terra Championship. Boss races are always done solo, meaning we have to actually win them. Thankfully, Krunk is fought on Jungle Boogie, which is one of the easiest tracks in the game, and he only ever throws his items backwards. Once you overtake him, he's incapable of interfering with you. After earning the key, there was some difficulty getting into the gate to the next world, but the portal's hitbox extends further out at the sides, letting us proceed to Barin. Hey Dr. Rank, isn't there a skip you can do in the remaining hub worlds? If you drive up to a locked boss track, then enter a world gate without going near any other tracks, you'll load into the boss without needing the required trophies. Surely this would be useful. Yes, but actually no. There are two problems with the aforementioned skip. Firstly, it's exclusive to the Xbox version and the North American PS2 version, neither of which I have consoles for. And second, even on versions where it does work, it has the rather unpleasant side effect of playing the fade to black transition every 5 seconds. Fighting 3 bosses without the gas pedal while blindfolded is not an experience I can recommend. We're doing every track in the order Vicarious Visions intended. Meteor Gorge has a very steep slope about 20 seconds in, but my successful attempt got lucky with a turbo from the preceding item boxes. Crash and I both had a strong lead at the end of lap 3, but I managed to choke the last jump and fall into the lava. Thankfully, I still had just barely enough time to reverse all the way to the finish line, beating Crash and Cortex by a nose. Barren Ruins has a shortcut at the end with a boost pad, and it just so happens to be accessible from the rear, letting us get started only 5 seconds in. However, the middle section is notoriously finicky because the colorblind programmer at Vicarious Visions was in charge of the ground collision. I ended up losing all my speed here on lap 1, and then again on the half-pipe in lap 3. Thankfully, I got plenty of clocks on this track, one of which was juiced up, allowing Crash to take the lead for me. Then we have to defeat the insidious delusions of deep sea driving. The only way we have to get started is with the tiniest slope, which is only just barely steep enough for a drift. The jump immediately after has a low ceiling, and it is possible to bonk your head and lose all your speed in an instant. You can recover using the anti-grav boost pads, but it's still annoying. Not to mention, the track is littered with spinning fan blades, whose cycles can be extremely unpredictable. In the trophy race, I was half a lap behind, and while the abundance of turbo tops did help slow down the leaders, Crunch was still in third. But then at the last moment, I got a juiced up clock, which was enough to let Crunch overtake Polar and Oxide for the win. But that's not good enough, because the boss race is on the same track. Not only does Nash get a 15-second head start, but he also spams dentures and road spikes behind him. Unlike Krunk's Fruit, these items actively deal damage, basically killing your run with the slightest contact. But on the plus side, the fan blades don't move in the boss race, so taking the same line will always give you the same result. I highly recommend spamming tornadoes as soon as you get them, and saving Aku Aku Masks for the start of lap 2 to more easily navigate the spikes. With a little luck, I hit Nash with a tornado just as I passed him, from which he was incapable of attacking. With Nash officially sunk, we proceed to the hardest world in the game, Phenomena. We open with Out of Time, where the best way to get started is using the pair of ramps near the start. Make sure the right side ramp is up, then reverse into it at an angle. As soon as you touch it, turn hard right, hopefully with just barely enough time to start drifting. Bad news, that was the easy part. The boost pads before the jumps at the clock are too narrow to use as viable recovery options. If you mess up at all in the first half of the track, you can consider the attempt forfeit. It took me over an hour and 20 minutes to get the trophy here, and it required absolutely perfect driving. At the end of lap 3, I had a massive lead and somehow managed to get a clock in first, but bonked the windmill sails. I had a frenzy built up, but I only got hazard-based items from it. Thankfully, I still had enough time to reverse over the finish line, mere seconds ahead of Crash. Then we get to Clockwork Wampa. Normally, this is my favorite track in the game, but in this run, it's the absolute worst. There are no accessible boost pads near the starting line, and every single slope in the entire track faces uphill. Not only does this mean we can't get started without a turbo, which takes a minimum of 20 seconds to acquire, but we'll be constantly slowing down anytime we're not boosting. There is a shortcut across the gears, but they're far too steep to climb, so we have to take the long winding path to the left. My best attempt at this level only finished in 5th place, and even then I technically didn't make it over the finish line. Our only option is to get Crash or Crunch to win, which is easier said than done. One thing I haven't mentioned is that the teammates' AI tends to rubber band harder than the enemy AI, since they're trying to stay near you to fill the frenzy meter. So most of the time, they'll be trailing behind in 7th by a country mile, and you won't get enough clocks for them to catch up. After 2.5 hours, I got a run that made it to lap 2, where I picked up a clock from the first item box while Crash was in the middle of the pack. Through lap 2, I got a few more clocks, and realizing my own victory was a lost cause, camped at the first item boxes in lap 3. I managed to get 3 clocks back to back right as the previous ones wore off, which was enough to get Crash to cross the finish line first. According to speedrunners, I could allegedly have quit from the pause menu after that point and it would still have counted, but I decided to reverse through lap 3 anyway, just in case. I was worried about physically reaching Thunderstruck since its area is on the other side of a boost pad ramp, but I managed to get there on the first try. The track itself has a small yet sufficient slope just behind the start line, and plenty of boost pads on the anti-grav sections to recover from the spike pillars. Though the final section has almost nothing to recover with. After several failures, Crunch and I both had a strong lead in lap 3, but I choked on the first anti-grav section and got horrible luck with the frenzy I'd stored. Thankfully, Crunch was too far ahead of Zem to lose at that point. The boss fight against Norm and Norm once again takes place at Out of Time, and their weapon of choice is mine bubbles, which slow you down. But they're pretty easy to avoid, and Small Norm is the only one that can actually win the race. I got lucky with a tornado on lap 1 and a backup triple turbo, which allowed me to overtake him and win our 3rd key. Techni gives us a cold greeting with Assembly Lane. While there are some hills at the beginning, they're nowhere near steep enough to start drifting. We once again have to rely on getting a turbo from the first item box. There is a shortcut over the wall here, but it is far from consistent enough to rely on. There's also some uphill slopes in the factory section, though they aren't nearly as bad as Clockwork Wumpa. By intentionally not going for the shortcuts, I was able to catch up to the AI in lap 2 and held a strong lead all the way to the end. Android Alley is a tough one. The half pipe at the start is considered anti-grav, so we can't use it for a slope start. We're entirely at the mercy of the item boxes. I highly recommend trying for a backup turbo as well. If you wipe out on the railway, for example, because you like trains, reversing over the jump runs the risk of boosting backwards and getting respawned up top. But once you're past that, the rest of the track is mostly downhill and you can cut through the windows to save time. With a little luck, you can catch up by lap 2. Also, at one point, Oxide decided to taunt me.
Try pressing your gas pedal.
The rest of Techni wasn't a big deal. Geary is fought on Android Alley once again, but the train doesn't spawn in this version, and there's a triple item box in the first set, making it even easier to get turbos. And Electron Avenue has a boost pad right at the start, which we can use to boost forward immediately. My first attempt just barely lost to Engine, but still finished in second. Then Crash ended up winning by clock spam anyway. Oh well, trophies are trophies. With all 4 keys acquired, we can take on the final boss, Emperor Velo the 27th. This is the single hardest boss in the whole run. Hyperspaceway is the longest track in the game, so much so that it doesn't have a mini-map. Our best way to get started is to reverse off the start line, respawn at the preceding jump, and use the boost pads further back. Actually catching up to Velo is the hard part, primarily because of his minions, Barry and Minion 2. They constantly drop static orbs behind them, often choosing the most inconvenient placement possible. If you hit a static orb, not only do you spin out with almost no time to get a recovery drift out, but your current item slot gets scrambled. So if you had a backup turbo, no you don't. And if one of your tornadoes hits a static orb, which it always does, it just gives up and goes home, effectively making Velo immune to them. There is a shortcut we can use to catch up, which Velo will never take, but it requires high speed both on entry and on exit. If we don't have either a turbo or a level 3 drift boost, we're not making these jumps. There's also an easy skip we can do at the start of the lap. By driving off the left side before the first portal, we can skip past the first jump. But since we respawn at a standstill, this is only worth going for if we have a turbo in reserve. Obviously, we want to get a triple turbo where possible, but the only triple item boxes are on the anti-grav tube at the end of the lap. And need I remind you, one static orb can completely delete them at a moment's notice. And even if you manage to pass Velo, which won't happen until halfway through lap 2 at least, he violates the conventions of Crash racing bosses by shooting missiles at specific intervals. This race is not over until the exact moment you cross the finish line.
Hang on! Hot cocoa! Oh yeah!
Don't shoot missile, don't shoot a missile, don't shoot a missile.
You won't have it for long.
Yes! Yes! Oh! 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 We did it! Oh! Oh! With Coco's right foot proven completely pointless, the Crash Nitro Kart Unfueled run is officially conquered!
But there are rules to follow. You first need to earn all my time relics.
Nope, we are not going for 100% this time. Good luck even getting a Sapphire Relic on Clockwork Wumpa. I'm going out with my sanity somewhat intact. So, here, let's go to the cutscene gallery and watch the true ending that way instead. If you want to watch the run, you can check out the livestream archives in the description. And as a reminder, I now do speedruns every Saturday on Twitch. Be sure to follow me at twitch.tv/drrank08 so you don't miss out on the fun. But I will still be streaming challenge runs here on YouTube. In fact, I have some unfinished business.